As photographers, we have the ability to weave magic and to control time. Why would we want to do this? Well, by slowing down time, we can introduce motion into the frame to stunning effect. For example, we can turn clouds into beautiful streaks or transform crashing waves into a milky blur, all by extending the shutter speed and capturing a long exposure image. So, I've come to the beautiful Rutland Water to show you how to capture your first long exposure image. Let's get started. Once we've arrived at our location, our first job is to secure the camera on a tripod. Doesn't matter how steady your hands are, you simply cannot hold the camera steady during a long exposure. A tripod is the photographer's friend and will not only keep the camera steady, but also hold compositions once you've found them. Remember though, in really strong winds, the tripod can be buffeted, so if this is the case, you may need to weigh it down. Our next job is to establish focus. We do this first because once you've added the ND filter in front of your lens, it's hard for the camera's autofocus system to work properly. So line up your scene, establish focus, and then switch the camera to manual focus, which is MF on the lens. This way the camera won't try to re-establish focus when you press the shutter button. We're going to add our ND filter now, and the important thing to remember, especially if you're just getting started in long exposure photography, is that you don't have to dive in and pay big bucks on an expensive filter. Whatever your budget, there'll be a filter to suit your price range. That said, the more premium filters do bring some advantages. Image quality is much higher, and they are far less prone to any sort of annoying colour casts that more inferior filters can produce. Of course, filters come in different strengths, and this will affect how long your shutter speed needs to be. With everything lined up and fitted, it's time to turn our attention to exposure settings. If your long exposure is going to be 30 seconds or less, you can use manual mode, which is M on the mode dial. To work out the exact time needed for your exposure, there are clever smartphone apps that will help you calculate this. However, in all honesty, photography is about experimentation, so there's nothing wrong with a little trial and error. If you're going for a really long shutter speed that is longer than 30 seconds, then you'll need to switch from manual mode to bulb mode, which is B on the mode dial. In this mode, the shutter stays open for as long as you hold down the shutter button. Now, simply keeping your finger pressed down on the shutter can cause vibrations, which will affect the image quality. So to solve this, why not use a cable release, so you don't even need to touch the camera. So, how much difference does an ND filter make? Well, I've added a 10-stop ND filter to my camera, and I'm going to take some pictures without the filter and with the filter so you can see the difference to the exposure. So let's take a moment to recap what we've covered. Firstly, let's keep the camera steady on a tripod. Secondly, establish focus first and then switch to manual focus. Thirdly, add your filter, and then you can move on to sorting your settings and experimenting with the shutter speed. I hope you enjoy shooting long exposures, and I'll see you next time.